Hey guys, this is The Argument with Toddy One Skip. I'm Toddy One Skip. Thank you. This is episode 9 already of The Argument. Thank you for all the love and support you've shown this channel. I really appreciate you. So again, I'm able to bring on somebody from the Gypsosphere. Should I say that Gypsosphere, Gypsiverse, the Gypsy Rose stuff? And we start talking about prison reform, but we keep going back to Gypsy in regards to how she didn't have any prison reform. So this is really about prison reform, and it's about one of the content creators who has brought us the FOIAs that have brought down Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and I have just so much respect and appreciation for them. It's Amber from Into the Weeds podcast, guys. You know, well, cool beans. Thank you though for joining me on my new channel, The Argument. I hope
Yeah,
to
thank
just
you.
talk about I guess more serious topics here where I don't really want to alienate people on the other channels, but this channel I is just I don't know, I think it's kind of more in your face. It doesn't have to agree with any of the subscribers. It just has to agree with what I think and feel. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So it's a good way, I think, for me to be more direct with who I am and how I feel about things without people saying, oh, it's only for subscribers or it's only for clicks and views. I want this channel to be monetized. I want all my channels to be successful. The work that we put into our channels, right, is for work. But then there's some passionate things that we feel more passionate about than other things,
Yes.
correct? Right? So, like for you, I know it's missing children, and I feel very passionate about that too. But you have, put your money where your mouth is and your time and energy on that. So, just a little bit, just to introduce who you are to the people from the argument subscribers.
Yeah. Okay. So I am a disabled veteran. I was only in the military, in the Army for a year. But I did a lot while I was in there. I had a lot of really wild experiences just in that year. And after I got out, I got into children's ministry. Um, I went to school for approximately 7.5 years for children's ministry. I've got like 189 credits, but no
Wow.
degree. But I just applied to a university 2 days ago. So I'm going to try and go for journalism. Um, I applied to Mizzou a couple of years ago, got accepted, and wasn't able to do it because of the migraine still. But yeah, I got hurt in the military. I broke my back in 3 places, and, so, yeah.
So
Uh,
just now you're trying to get into journalism?
yeah, actually
So
pursuing a degree in it and actually taking classes in it instead of,
I didn't know that. So, like, we're gonna go a little off topic here, if that's okay with you.
yeah.
Um, why? What has inspired that? Is that something you've always wanted to do? Like, what's going on with that? I didn't know this because, guys, in all fairness, I've collaborated with Amber Into the Weeds, which, by the way, is a military broadcast radio station that I mean, so there's a lot of good things about it. One, it's a military broadcast radio station, so it does good things in that.
Yep.
Two, it covers topics that are, like the Gypsy Rose. That's where we met through the Gypsy Rose. But then there's missing children, and now we're talking here on this channel about prison reform.
Mhm.
So there's so much, but also, and this should always be mentioned about the channel. One of my favorite parts about the channel is they play music that you might not hear anywhere else, and yet every song I've heard, and not because I don't lie. You know what I mean? It's the truth. Every song I've heard. Now I know some of the songs were more popular, but some of the songs were not. It doesn't matter. The first time I heard them, I was like, I really enjoyed all the songs, so I love that. And to give a voice to artists that don't often have the gumption or the know-how to get out there is big kudos as well. So I will in the description put military broadcast radio just
Thank you.
so that we have that. But I'm sorry. So go ahead. I'm sorry. So journalism, you said, and what has caused that?
Well, being with military broadcast radio, I mean, it's actually an actual radio station, an internet radio station, but it's on every platform you can find. We talk about a broad range of subjects. I get emails all the time because I'm the secretary of MBR. And so we get a lot of people that need our help, either with filing VA information or legal help or just getting their story out there. And so I thought, well, since I'm with MBR now, I need to, invest in that and learn more about what's going on there and how I can make it better. And then I also want to just learn the legal loopholes and things for journalism and what I'm allowed to do, what I'm not allowed to do. And I just want to be more credible, I guess. I mean, like I said, I've gone to school for like 7.5 years. I have a bunch of schooling behind my name, but I don't have a degree or anything. So, and I'm not really into children's ministry anymore. I feel like I've grown out of that and I'm more into adults now. Um, so it's just kind of me evolving as a person and just wanting to learn more. I love to learn. So that's basically what it is.
Well, the reason why I ask about the journalism is because we're both content creators. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Would you? Okay. So, and I've watched like Vinnie Politan lately, especially when it comes to the sheriff and the judge murder in Kentucky, right?
Mhm.
And he has on Hillbilly Crime, who's just a YouTube channel. And Nancy Grace is, it seems like people that have any kind of degree or any kind of, I guess, reputation per se, um, seem to come now to the content creators. And
Yeah,
the content creators don't have anything but fresh eyes and common sense a lot
that
and
is
critical
true.
thinking, right? So
Mhm.
I understand totally about going to school to learn the loopholes and
Mhm.
what to and what not to say to keep yourself safe. Totally get that as far as the laws and the protections and how you can protect your sources and how far you can go with that as well. That I get. But I think that well, we talked a little bit about I think and I don't know where you landed on this, but the Lauren Matthias, like that was a true blown journalist. Like that's a journalist. And she, in my opinion, has now put a big ass question mark over, the word journalist and what it might mean. Because I think now I just think integrity takes such a bigger role in things. It's okay to say, I don't know, let's look into that as opposed to bullshit.
Mhm.
And so I don't think that's journalism per se. Journalism, I don't know if anything in this field anymore, and maybe this is my skepticism over the years, but I just am not sure that anybody with a journalist degree who is connected to any kind of news station has a lot of integrity. And now I know that's a blanket statement, and it certainly does not mean everybody. But if you work for a slanted news company, they're not going to let you put up things either that don't go in the favor that they want it to go into. So you have to feel some sort of pressure. And that's all I mean by that.
Mhm.
And people are trying to make their bills, trying to pay their bills. And it's really unfair for somebody to go to work and have to decide well, is it my integrity that's going to pay the price, or is it going to be my paycheck that pays the price? And I don't think that that's something that should ever happen. But I think that that's happened with journalists with degrees and stuff. So that's why, I asked why you were going for it.
Yeah, no, I completely understand where you're coming from when you say that because, I mean, honestly, if Donald Trump did nothing for us other than to open our eyes that there's a lot of fake news out there and that people are pushing their own agendas, I credit him and Meghan Markle for opening up my eyes to what the media really is and the media spin. You know, I I
So a
don't
lot of
necessarily.
entertainment in there. A lot of entertainment in there.
Yeah, yeah, and so before I had encountered the 2 of them as, like, real news stories and everything, I had never really paid attention to what the news fed me. I just kind of assumed it was true, and I really didn't do a whole lot of investigating on my own. And, since Meghan Markle and, Donald Trump, and now I'm lumping Gypsy Rose into it, we see that the mainstream media usually sells us a big line of BS.
Or
And
what they feel is a popularity.
yeah,
What they feel is the most popular. It's like they don't do it's they just take the vibe of the story, and that's what I feel like the most popular. It's about ratings, isn't it? When it comes down to it, it is. It's about ratings. And calling Gypsy Rose Blanchard, for example, um, a mommy unaliver before we actually got the FOIAs, just because of some of the stuff that just made sense. It didn't look good. And now, you know, I'm not sure that mainstream media is getting the attention that even the internet. And I'm talking about the bigger channels, which are
mhm.
now grabbing Gypsy's story because it's made them look foolish.
Yeah, I
So
mean, mainstream media has done the world a disservice for a really long time, peddling a lot of misinformation, half-truths. A lot of people only read the headlines, and go no further than that, or, you know, it's it's unfortunate, but that's where our world is. But fortunately for us, now we have YouTube and other podcasting platforms where we can get real news and real information directly from court documents, eyewitness accounts, whatever. There's so many people now who are going above and beyond journalists, nowadays, and revealing the truth about what's really going
Well,
on in the world.
I think that we do that as content creators, and the reason is because we aren't sponsored by anybody to make us stop. So we are going with integrity. I don't know, all of us are. I know that your channel, my channel, and the people that we associate with, obviously, we believe are going with integrity, and we want to at least make people be aware of who Gypsy Rose is today, because
Mhm.
she's a danger. I think she is a valid danger to her daughter, if there's a child, and to anybody who is of weaker mind than her. She
Yeah.
is easy. She is a person that can manipulate, and it's amazing. I don't get it, but it's there.
Well,
She has the ability to do that.
yeah, and, like, I only started talking about Gypsy because my cousin is in Chillicothe for 25 years for
Right.
5 ounces of meth, for trafficking meth. She was a drug dealer, she definitely deserves to be in prison, but
But
she
how'd she
definitely
get more
didn't deserve
time?
25 years.
Not when Gypsy got 8.5.
Yeah, yeah, and, from my understanding, everything that I have been able to research and find, my cousin has the highest sentence for drugs for a woman ever in the state of Missouri, I believe.
That's weird.
Yeah, and she is half Hispanic, and so they really played up on the cartel angle of saying she was part of the cartel. She's been in my life my entire life. Her father was my parents' drug dealer, so I know it wasn't coming from the cartel. I know where it was coming from,
Right, right, right.
So
And when did she get arrested?
she got she's been in prison for 3 years.
Okay.
Okay. I don't remember exactly when she got arrested, but it was before COVID, I believe.
Okay, so it was Trump's administration. That's what I was asking basically.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Well, the reason
And
why I ask is because, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I will say this. And I really don't want this to be political, though some of the things unfortunately are going to fall under party. I mean, that's the way it's going to fall. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So but I'm a Democrat. I'm going to put that out there, but I don't believe in every single Democratic um in every cause or every I don't believe in all of it. I am middle of the road. I don't believe that we should be taking people out of homes because they've been living here forever and got here illegally once upon a time and go check them out. See, are they in danger here? Have they done something wrong here? If not, and they've been paying taxes and living right, leave them alone. They are an added bonus to us. So and I think because of Trump, and this is why I bring him up, I think that he has done damage to any race that is not blonde haired and white. And I'm sorry, but that's what I see. He has said horrible things about uh where was that family from, the Gold Star with the son that they lost?
I honestly don't know, Toddy. I have not paid attention to politics at
Right.
all.
So, but he hasn't been kind to people of different countries. We can I mean I he hasn't been kind, and because of that, I think it does cause a prejudice that if it was already there, it's now more an acceptable environment. And if it wasn't there, it allows people to find something to look for. So that's why I asked, because you said that your cousin was Hispanic. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
her
that's why.
mom is very Hispanic, very, very dark.
Right.
So, when she came into the courtroom, that was just furthering their agenda, you know?
Right.
So I get what you're saying on that as far as, like, all of the immigration stuff and all of that. But, honestly, that just happens in small towns, here in Missouri. It doesn't matter who's in office, um, in the White House.
Mhm.
I'll say that. It doesn't matter who's in the White House. It depends on, each individual county, the different judges. There's a lot of the good old boy system.
Mhm.
And so when we're talking about my cousin's case specifically, we're talking about the good old boy system who um, wanted to lock somebody up for the crime, but didn't want to lock up the white person. They wanted to lock up the brown person. Um, like her boyfriend, his gun was in her home. It was registered to him, but she got in trouble for the gun. He never got any charges, never spent any time in jail or prison as far as I'm aware of. And so yeah, it happens all the time here in Missouri. Unfortunately, the justice system in small towns are very precarious, and it doesn't matter who's in office anywhere other
Mhm.
than, the local counties and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I try to focus on is like my local stuff to where I can make impacts and changes locally.
Mhm.
Because if I try to think about all that stuff that's going on everywhere else, I'm just gonna get frustrated and I'm gonna be ineffective. I'm not going to be able to make any change or affect any change if I'm always trying to hit the top. I need to go down here at the bottom where I can really affect change and and help out. So I when it comes to politics, I just honestly I try to stay away from it because I become an angry person when I
I
think about that
understand.
kind of stuff.
No, I understand. I get it. I understand. But you wanted to talk about, and we want to talk about prison reform.
Yes.
So it, let's talk about prison reform. Where do you
Yeah.
stand on it? What does it look like for you? What is it? Share with me. Share with
Yeah.
us.
So, like I said, my cousin's incarcerated for 25 years in Chillicothe Women's Correctional Facility here in Missouri. And so when I first started talking to her, they weren't allowed to have Bibles physically. They weren't allowed to gather together and talk about spiritual things.
Was that in Chillicothe or was that in jail?
I was in Chillicothe,
Okay.
and it was there was a period of time where they weren't like letting anything in the prison, and they were like trying to lock down um, groups of people gathering and things like that because there was a lot of drugs coming in.
Was it also COVID time, right? Or no?
So she went in 2022, I believe. Yeah, 2022.
Okay. So
So
COVID was it was there. It wasn't as bad. Well, that wasn't a great year for COVID. I mean, not that it's a horrible thing to say, but my dad died in 2021 of a COVID in June of 2021. I think we were still wearing masks. No, we were still wearing masks in 2022. I don't. Anyway,
yeah,
I just want to be fair in the timing and why there might be a reason for something. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm
no,
saying.
it was more about the drugs.
Okay.
It was more about the drugs coming in because like I said, they quit allowing things sent in. Um like I was sending her books, books to read, a Bible study, and then they like shut it all off. And they quit allowing stuff to come in, and then you had to do like third party, or you had to do Amazon only, right? And
Right.
then people were
I'm
getting stuff.
surprised. I got to be honest with you, and I don't. I know I'm interrupting, but when I worked, and this was years ago. I mean, we're talking decades ago in the jail system.
Mhm,
The only way people could get things that weren't sold by the commissary was if they got it from specific companies, like and through brochures. So like Sears, they could
mhm.
get through Sears. So there wasn't Amazon at the time. Yeah. So um that surprises me that you were actually able to send things in. That's a surprise to me. That's why I'm asking
Yeah,
anyway.
well, then people started slipping drugs into the Amazon packages. So,
Oh,
yeah, so it got taken away, and I'm really honestly not sure how it is now. I think you can send stuff in. It's been a while since I've sent anybody anything.
right.
Um, but yeah, so they have situations that crop up like that where they'll be isolated or they can't get certain things or whatever from time to time.
Now, let me
So,
ask you this. I know I keep interrupting, but there's a reason why, and I think you'll understand. When you say isolated, do you mean that she's in a cell by herself, or is she in an open pod where she's able to exist with other inmates?
so my cousin's in a cell where she has a roommate. Actually, I think it's changing because her job is changing. She was actually right now she takes pictures.
Of
She's a
the inmates.
photographer at
Yep.
Chillicothe.
Of the inmates for commissary photos for money. Yeah, I know. I know what the job's
Well,
about.
for visiting.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So she has been doing that for a while. but her job is changing soon, and she's in a whole different program. Like, they have this whole program in Chillicothe called Women's Empowerment Program,
Mhm.
and it's where you stay there to work on mental health, drug issues, things like that. And she's the first person that they've ever let stay as long as she has stayed in this program, because she's actually affecting change and actually doing things to help the program.
Right. Uh-huh.
So they allow her to stay in that program and encourage the women and do the things that she's doing. So she's not isolated, but what I meant by isolation is like, sometimes people will be cut off from their families for no reason, or just weird things will happen. So that's just what I meant by that. But when we get into prison reform, okay, so what I'm really trying to do is just talk to these women and just learn what it is that they believe that they need in prison to be successful. Or if I find out something is going on in the prison, I will hear something, and then I will send that out either to news stations or, prison reform charities, foundations, whatever. So that's the kind of prison reform I do, is I'm just trying to learn from these women what they believe that they need to be successful, and
Now
then
when you
try
say
and help.
so when you say that to be successful, is there what does successful look like for
So
them?
a lot of times they're not made to take classes. Like they have to take one, which is usually the ICVC, the victim impact class, where you realize that you have victims and you own up to that. So that's usually like the only class that they're made to take.
Mhm.
So a lot of these women will just sit in prison like Gypsy did, as we see in her emails, where they're just screwing around all day and not ever doing anything productive
Except
to make,
becoming a better criminal.
except for becoming a better criminal. Yes.
Mhm.
So what a lot of the women say is it would be nice if we were made to do these things, because unfortunately they're broken human beings, and uh
I could see
you know
where structure is a good, I think that's a great tool. A lot of people
yeah.
need it. A lot of people need it, and we see in our military, actually. You know what I'm
Exactly,
saying?
exactly. Yeah,
Better in the
and
military than in prison,
yeah,
right?
and my cousin and I laugh a lot because she'll tell me a situation, and I'll be like, "Dang, you got it easy. When I was in the army, we did this, this, and this," and uh, she definitely has way more perks and things to be able to do than I was able to do the year I was in the army.
Right.
Um,
They have
but
too
I was
much.
also in training.
Yeah, they have too much, as somebody that worked in the jail system, and I've been into several prisons as somebody that was, what'd you call it? I mean, like, I sold greeting cards to the the larger facilities, the prison system in New York State, as well as in Virginia, but in the prison system in New York State, and a few jails, but mostly prisons. So I would go in there and meet with the trustees that were running, you know, the commissary, as well as who was ever running their commissary. Anyway, so I saw that anybody that got out of their cell for the day was a better person for it.
Mhm.
You know, the it, however, the only problem is that the more movement, the more you're making
Trouble.
yourself vulnerable. Well, you're only as weak as your weakest link, and if your weakest link is all locked down, then it's a door latch, or an alarm system or
Yeah.
an electrical system that could malfunction. But while you have 20 something inmates moving in one direction, and that's being conservative on the class, you have 20 vulnerable points there that only so many correctional officers. How many correctional officers are to the inmates there? Do you know what the
I'm
ratio
not
is?
sure, but you saying that, last night we found out that a friend of ours who was a correctional officer was beaten up by 3 inmates, and he has severe brain injury and
Mm.
can't
Not from
drive.
Chillicothe, right?
Not from Chillicothe,
Yeah.
but from an area prison around here. And we know a lot of correctional officers, a lot of people who work in the prisons. Um, so it's kind of a whole
It is.
culture in its own. Okay. But yeah, so our friend was beaten up by 3 inmates in a prison because of a drug deal that he saw go down. And because it was right in front of the camera or whatever, I guess it it had to be, dealt with.
Recorded. Right,
Yeah.
right.
And, unfortunately, he, bared the brunt of that, and, now for over a year has had a traumatic brain injury, and we just found out about it last night.
Wow.
So, um, yeah, prison is dangerous and inmates are dangerous. You can't trust anybody in there, even if they seem like the sweetest, kindest person ever,
I know.
because I even have stories of people I know who were COs who met people who they would come home and say, "Oh, this person is so great." And
Mhm.
they would just be, like, "I just don't understand why they're in prison." And then we'd go look up the charges, or we knew that person and we'd be like, here's why, and maybe you should really stay away from that person."
Well, they can only stay away as what they want. There's only, you know, the only this was what the COs were told where I worked, in any of the places that I worked, uh, is that their job was just to protect the inmates from themselves and each other,
Yeah.
and that's it. So now they have these tablets where they're just sitting around all day,
Mhm.
and it's, to me, that's so unfair, because there's people that are struggling to make it in the world, that are living right and working a couple jobs, and they can't afford a tablet or internet, or, or 3 hots and a cot. There,
Mhm.
and so prison reform, to me, this is why I wanted on the argument, is
Mhm.
because I think that each place could be sustainable. I really do. And there's so much talent in there, number 1, on that
Mhm.
alone. There's
Mhm.
artists in there, there's singer-songwriters in there. R. Kelly should be working. He should be selling his songs, and he's not getting paid for it, you know what I mean? Like, he's just paying for what he's in there for, but somebody should be making money he should be working. I don't
And
understand why, there's something wrong here. I think that a lot of we have prisons here in upstate New York. They're in the middle of these fields. How much money would it take to make these fields into agricultural, sustainable places with cows? So you got your cows, you can have your chickens. It's not impossible
yeah,
to live.
unfortunately, though, those types of situations usually end up becoming slave labor, stuff like that. The
I don't
thing
have a problem with that, Amber. If somebody, I would rather see that. And they got 3 hots and a cot. I'm not talking about beating anybody. I'm talking
Yeah.
about people working 8 hours a day, 8 hours a day. And so what if they have 3 8-hour shifts? You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? And they're paying for the meals. They got their tablets. They're working 8 hours a day. If they were to do that, I don't think that it has to go to the extreme of slave labor. But I think that there is a way that if these were sustainable and we could even pay the prison guards more, um, simply because they are risking their lives, and you're asking people to put so much in. It's kind of like the women that, or the men that work in the hospitals and clean up the shit. You're asking them to come into work for 10-15 bucks an hour when, you got the doctor walking through just waving and making whatever there has to be some sort of balance here. And if the jails were more sustainable, I think everybody would benefit, not just the prison guards, but the inmates as well. And they'd certainly eat better, in my opinion.
Yeah, unfortunately, prison is now just an industry. It's
Privatized.
Yeah, it's privatized. It's all about filling the cots and not
Not a
reforming the
problem
people.
filling those cots. Unfortunately, there's not a problem filling those cots.
Exactly, because the recidivism rate is usually 87% or higher.
Well, see, that's where the discussion is.
Yeah.
That's where the reform change, in my opinion, goes the other way, because you're getting 3 hots in a cot for doing nothing but sitting on your computer.
Mhm.
And a lot of times when you're writing to people doing the pen pal stuff, you don't need anything else because you got somebody buying something from you. All you got to do is be sweet to somebody. I mean, that's it, right? Some
Mhm.
desperate soul out there, some vulnerable person, and if your intentions are bad, I mean, look at what you're in there for. I mean, maybe they're not good. And why
So
why would you leave that life? It's hard out here to make a living. It's hard out here to make your bills. It's hard out here to stay warm. There are people, as you know, that have lost SNAP benefits, and not because they don't work, but because they don't make enough to pay for everything. There are some people that don't work, but there are people that work damn hard and they just aren't making enough.
I agree.
So that's where, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have a problem with that.
No, I believe unfortunately Gypsy Rose has not done the people at Chillicothe any good, because her prison emails, I was the person to put them out. Um, they they show a person who sat on her behind, milked the system, and the people who cared about her for all it was worth, took every dime she could get, and played
Manipulated.
the system, played everybody, and is now out doing the same thing. So
Manipulated.
I did
Manipulated the
not
entire
even
system.
know. My cousin had been in prison for I don't know how long before those emails came out. I had no idea that you could buy movies or music on your tablet. I had no idea. My cousin had never even brought that up. Like, hey, can you buy me a movie or can you buy me a song? I never knew that. So when I started reading that, I went to my cousin. I was like, hey, Shelly, can you buy movies on your tablet? She's like, oh, yeah. I was like, I didn't even know
Why
that.
didn't she ask you? I know the answer, but why didn't she ask you? And I know the answer, and we've never talked about this before. I could write down the answer. I'm gonna write down the answer. Don't say it yet. And then I want you to answer the question, but wait till I write the answer down. We did a game show once, remember? We're gonna
Yes.
do that again. All right. So I have my answer, and I want you. Why did she not ask you for money to do that? Why didn't she ask you for anything?
Well, first of all, it wouldn't even crossed her mind because she's in there trying to get help and be a better person. Um, so she wouldn't do that. And then second of all, she'd never asked me for something frivolous like that while she's incarcerated for doing wrong. She knows better. I mean, that's just dumb.
Okay. Third, I'm gonna give you a third because neither one of those is my answer.
Because she's a good human being.
Okay, so my answer is,
I
see if
can't
you
see
can
it.
read it.
Because she has a job? Oh, well, yeah. She
Because
has a
she has
job.
a job and she could treat herself to
Yeah.
her own movies after she comes home after work.
Well,
Gypsy
and
didn't have a job.
she did get a TV bought for her from her dad, but I mean, she watches like, Lifetime and PBS and, whatever's available on the channels that are available to her. But yeah, she never, I mean, it's just she's so busy, and actually her counselor had to tell her, you need to slow down and you need to stop taking all of these classes and just kind of sit with yourself a little bit and your job and just kind of learn a little bit more
Yeah, it's almost
about
like she's trying to hide behind all of this stuff, keep herself so busy she's not dealing with what she's got to deal with. Yeah,
exactly. And so that's what she's decided to do. She's not going to be facilitating classes anymore. She's not going to be taking classes 30 times. I mean, she literally does. She takes the class over and over and over. Every time it's offered, she's in the door taking a class.
wow. Okay,
So, but she's on the warden's like committee for prisoners, to give them suggestions and things like that. She's very trusted,
right.
and she's doing things in there that are making changes. But um, yeah, so unfortunately, Gypsy kind of crapped all over what. So most of those women in prison don't have anybody. They don't have money. They don't have a GED in order to get a job. Okay, because you have to have a GED to get a lot of those jobs
In the prison?
in the prison.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I
So
think Gypsy, one of the precursors for her to come out was that she had to, well, like, that was a prerequisite, my understanding, that she had to get her GED.
I don't know if that was a prerequisite or not. I mean, you don't have to get your GED to get out of prison.
I thought to get her parole, she did.
I don't know because I've
Okay.
never actually seen her parole agreement.
Okay.
But you don't have to have your GED to get out of prison.
No, no,
There,
no, I understand that, but I thought that that was a stipulation upon the parole. I don't That's what I heard. I'm not sure, I never saw it either, but that's what I heard.
yeah, and I think a lot of people assume uh about her parole stipulations and her parole agreement and stuff like that, but as far as I know, no one's ever seen it. I
Right.
haven't. Um,
Well, you'll be the first one as you get most of the paperwork, so
yeah. I did actually just talk to Greene County a couple of days ago, and they were supposed to send me videos and recordings a long time ago, and they never did. And so I, went back and I was like, "Hey, you remember how I was supposed to get some recordings and videos?"
right,
And
right.
she's like, "Oh, well, I sent you a USB." And I was like, "Yeah, but there weren't any recordings or videos. There was only pictures and documents." So they said that they would send me some stuff, and then in January I'm supposed to be getting Nick's stuff, and then I'm also FOIing a, a couple of other things that I don't want to talk about yet. But
Fair enough. That's fair enough.
so,
Yeah.
but
Cool.
yeah, this has helped me. So I speak to a lot of women in the prison. Well, not a lot of women, but like 4 women in the prison, and then I also have spoken to a man who is incarcerated in St. Louis for a very terrible crime, and I actually quit speaking to him because of one of the things that he pitched to me for prison reform. And it was that he wanted conjugal visits to be brought back. And his whole pitch was, well, as a Christian, you're separating a husband and a wife. You know what I mean? And that they should have the ability to be one. He was trying to pitch me from the
Right,
Christian
right, right. Right,
standpoint
right,
of
right.
why they need conjugal visits.
Right.
And after I heard that, I was like, yeah, no, no, I'm just not gonna go there. So I haven't communicated with them since. I haven't like said, "Hey, I'm not talking to you anymore." I just haven't talked to him anymore.
Right.
So there's a lot of
So,
things.
again, when you say successful, what does that look like for the women that you've spoken to? Is it successful while they're in prison? Is it successful when they get out of prison? Does it prepare them to get out of prison? Are there people here that will never get out of prison? And um, you think educating them is, I mean, that, I guess that's what I'm trying
Well, so just taking my
to do,
cousin
the
for
haircut.
instance, she was a high school
With a hat.
graduate.
What does prison reform like? What does successful? What does that mean? And
Successful means that we are trying to prepare these women and men for the outside world. They have a limited amount of time to learn as much as they can. And if there could be some way, like, so for instance, Chillicothe, it's available there, right? But
well, I
not
mean, I
many of
don't know. You tell me. I don't
it
know.
is. It's
Okay.
available there
So
for
what's
them.
available? What is available there?
All of the classes from codependency, drug rehab, I don't know, she takes so many classes. There's
But
so
I
many
mean, how does
classes.
that? But that okay. I I hear that, but how does that prepare them to get a job that's going to help them pay the bills so that they don't have to have criminal behavior? And some of that might not be their fault, mind you,
Mhm.
because the jobs now don't pay enough to pay the bills.
Well, yeah, and no, they need to have not only the classes to help people focus in and learn who they are and why they committed the crimes, why they keep choosing those different patterns. Okay, they've got that there. But what they don't have is a system in place also to uh, make people do this, to like
It's not
to
mandatory.
incentivize people to change.
Should be mandatory, in my opinion.
Correct. I believe it should be mandatory, and I also believe that every prison should have a couple of occupational. Uh, I believe that they should have different occupations that they teach the inmates to do, whether it be welding or something.
Wow, that's a hard thing, though. So that's a hard thing, and I am gonna I wanna have a conversation
Hmm.
because I feel like I can talk to you
Hmm.
about this. So, before I became the commissary manager, when I started at the jail, I started and this is kind of the way it is in prisons as well. In the kitchen, the employees were inmates, so they
Hmm.
were in the trustee program, and for each, I don't know, 10 days it was that they worked, they got so much time off their sentence, as well as they were receiving a paycheck. It was very nominal, but it was enough.
Hmm.
And another incentive was that they got out of their cell block.
Hmm.
Now, here's why it was such a benefit in the jail system. So, in the jail system, there's maybe 6 guys in a little cell. This was back then. Now there's pods and
Yeah.
there's a lot more going on, but back then, certainly the incentive was to get the hell out of there because it was only so big. I mean, their cells were only so big, and their little cell block area was only so big. There was before the pod system was used there, and
Hmm.
there was a newer prison. But so we're teaching, and I remember teaching an inmate how to hold a broom. And I said, "Man, haven't you ever pushed a broom before?" And he was like, "No."
Hmm.
I said, "Okay, let me show you how to do this." So, but again, the sad bit, and it's not just for inmates, it's for anybody. That's not enough to push a broom, right? and to even teach somebody how to cook, or to teach somebody how to prepare stuff,
Mhm.
or to count an inventory, because somebody had to also be responsible for inventory. There were several positions in the kitchen. I don't think any of those positions in the kitchen, at least, would be enough for anybody to get out of prison, get a job, make enough money to
Mhm.
not have to work a second or third job.
I
That's
agree.
the sad part. And then now they're inmates, so they're already on the bottom of the list, because that's unfortunately the way it goes too. So some of that, I think, is part of the prison problem, but then the other part is the outside world problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, for a long time, they were teaching women clerical services and things like that. And it's like, how many reputable offices are gonna hire a felon to be their secretary or, whatever?
Well, I
It's like
understand getting to know computers and computer
yeah.
programs and such like that, but
Yes.
then they have to be careful because you can't get them online. Everything is a problem. Like when you said the welding, I went, "Whoa!" Like the
Well, of course,
welding.
it's gotta be based on, the trust system and who's, a
Somebody who
model
might get out
prisoner.
in a year. So, you want somebody who doesn't have a lot to lose. You don't
Yeah.
wanna put somebody 10 years and give them a welding device, because 10 years to an inmate going through shit, but giving somebody maybe a year or 2 a welding device, yeah, they're already seeing the door. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? They're already
Yeah, I
seeing the
mean,
door.
there's lots of different jobs that can, be put in the prisons, I mean, from mechanical work, working on different, vehicles or, machines or whatever. I mean, my cousin was talking about doing her new job, and it has something to do with chemicals. I have no idea what it has to do with, but it's something to do with chemicals, but she's super excited because it's teaching her a new skill. And so I'm like, okay, I mean, I don't know what it is. Hopefully once she gets the job, I'll learn more about what it is and then
Mhm.
judge if it's, safe or not. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just there's all kinds of things that can be incorporated, but not only teaching them how to do it, but also having people who have graduated programs like that from prison to come back and talk about how it helped them. A lot of these people get really excited when they see success stories. When you can show them real tangible success stories, they get excited about it. And there's this they've got this app on their tablets called Pando, and one of the shows that they watch is The Real Vita or something like that. And it's it's a show about how prisoners are writing in or calling in and telling their success stories and and telling how they've moved forward instead of seeing it as an opportunity to learn how to be a better criminal or just an opportunity to lay and rest their heads until they get, wherever they're going or whatever they're doing. There's all kinds of mentalities in prison. But when they see
So,
success
let
stories, it
let me
helps.
have you ever looked into Real Vita?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so it's a podcast, Christian podcast,
Mhm.
primarily for incarcerated men and women.
Yeah.
It is a podcast version of our weekly radio program, Real Talk Radio, playing on radio stations throughout Texas. Okay, I never heard of it.
Yeah, it plays, on their Pando app, and, I've watched it before. You can actually, as a member of society, you can download the Pando app and see the different things that they have access to. So my cousin and I will go on there, and she'll pick a show that she wants to watch together, and, she'll watch it on her time, and I'll watch it on my time, and then we come together and we discuss it, things like that.
This is Christian based as well.
The Pando?
Yeah, it says it right
Okay.
on there. It just
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I don't
all
have
I
a
know
problem with
is
that.
it's an app on their tablet.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. I'm just saying that it's
Yeah.
Christian based as well.
But it's stuff like that, and now they have, a whole program online where they can get certificates and learn different things. Gosh, I wish I had a printout of my cousin's certificates that she's gotten, but it's anywhere from, uh, teaching you different things about food items or, teaching you things about reading, books and learning how to pull information and comprehension and things like that. There's all these different kind of classes and certificates you can get, and they've only had it since January. And my cousin, she's got over, I want to say over 40 certificates since
Wow.
January. And
Wow.
I think altogether she's got like 120 certificates between the that app that or that system that they do, and then I think it's called Endeavo or something like that. And then the certificate she can get on campus. She's got like 120 or something like that.
Wow.
So there's lots of opportunity to change. It's just a matter of wanting to change, and that's where we need. So my cousin is very passionate about teaching people about trauma and how trauma affects your life
Mhm.
because she's gone through a bunch of these classes and she's realized that a lot of the decisions that she used to make and the decisions that she would normally make are based off of trauma responses or trauma triggers.
Right.
And like I said, she's taken all those classes in there, and there's nothing comprehensive enough, in her opinion. So she's actually trying to come up with some kind of program based on that. So that's something that she's moving towards is trying to learn about trauma and how it affects. And so she's reading all these books and taking all these classes, trying to educate the women in there around her. And that's
Right.
what she does. She will, they'll get together and they'll have a Bible study of what we've talked about or whatever, and they've been getting together and actually learning and moving forward with their lives instead of staying stagnant and in their bunks till 11 a.m., and just watching TV all day or
So
trash talking.
or right, or Findom. Shit. Yeah.
So, I mean, prison reform is a big topic. When you say prison reform,
Yeah,
it's very
prison reform,
encompassing
yeah,
because,
to me is the whole prison system being reformed.
but also, so like we've got people in prison who don't deserve to be in prison,
That's
who
true.
have been falsely accused, and constantly there's people being proven through DNA and stuff like that they didn't do these crimes. And
Right.
so we need there just needs to be something done about all that, and I don't know how to start it or what to do, but I know I'm at least trying to help these women tell their stories about what they've been through and what they're doing now and what they want to do, and by helping tell their stories, hopefully that encourages them even more, you
Right.
know.
I'm sorry, there's this it's been the same damn bug, and it goes
You're
slow, I
good.
just still can't get it. But here's the thing that so 2 things. One is you said that your cousin is in there for 25 years, and she's only been in there for how long now?
3.
3?
Mhm.
Okay, so 22 years. We don't know what the world's gonna look like in 22 years, right? So
Mhm.
we don't know that something she could be if there's a class now to teach somebody welding, let's just say, right? Like, that person, we'll say that person is 30 years old. In 60 years, are they going to come out and be a welder?
No,
Like,
I mean, we've gotta be realistic.
right.
We've gotta be realistic.
And not just that, but also we have to look at how much even the medical field has changed in the United States since not even 30 years ago.
Mhm,
So now it's like, are we going to, I'm going to use the word waste. Are we going to waste money on teaching somebody how to use a certain kind of computer system only in 30 years to know that computer system is no longer going to be in existence?
no,
Like,
I get it, but at
to
the same time,
me,
they can be useful at the prison.
yeah,
They can help
that's what
out.
I'm saying. This, okay, so that's where you and I are right there. So my way, and listen, this isn't, this is the argument, right? So if the jail was sustainable, think about this. If the prison was a sustainable prison and it took care of itself financially, okay, and it can. I mean, definitely it can. Everybody, every inmate would have to contribute, just like you said.
Mhm,
And in this world where the prison takes care of itself and everybody having to deal with things, that's trauma. So when you said, dealing with trauma and showing the other inmates how to deal with trauma and stuff, okay, that's past trauma, but they live in a very controlled environment now. So they're not going to have some idiot pull out in front of them or take their parking place or maybe run over their foot with a trolley or have them wake up and have all this shit happens. It's pretty much routine. And if they have the opportunity, the inmate, and they wake up in a shit mood and they have the opportunity to put the blanket over their head, they're not really dealing with trauma, right? So it's much more controlled. If the prison system were actually to take care of itself and it was treated more like a place where everybody had to go to work, you'd have to say, hey, listen, man, I can't go to work today. I'm either sick, or somebody would say, listen, you have to go to work today. That's not an excuse. And then somebody like your cousin actually has almost like a counselor position where they're dealing, you see, like, even in that, there's always somebody to play a part in what their strength is.
mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's ideal, but unfortunately, we live in a broken world and with a broken system, with broken people, and trying to figure out how to move our justice system and our prison system into a direction like that is just like, I mean, that would be amazing if we could do stuff like that,
Yeah, we'd
you
have to
know?
start it. I don't, we'd have to start it. Like, there's no reason I know I can speak from from upstate New York
Mhm,
that there are, no lie, there are prisoners, I'm sorry, there are prisons that just have fields around them.
mhm.
And
Most of
I
them
know
do.
I noticed them, right? I noticed 30 years ago when I first got here, because I was from Florida and I never paid attention to prisons or anything till I started working in Virginia, and then it was like every time I saw one, and there's a lot in upstate New York because they
Mhm.
look like castles up here. That's why. I mean,
Yeah.
they have great architecture.
Mhm,
So, and then you see the slit windows and you're like, ah, it's a prison. And then you see the tower. And I look at that 30 years ago, it looks exactly the same. If they would have started 30 years ago, do you know that it probably would definitely be sustainable today?
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the fact that the talking about it just doesn't seem to get anywhere. We haven't done anything but privatize a system off of criminals. And then listen, you know how I feel about Gypsy Rose, but think about it. There's people making money off criminals. The criminals making money off their own crime. Is it really so far out of reach when other people are making money off of them, like the prison system and the amount of money making off of them? Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, I mean, the whole system's messed up. I mean, I'm from Oklahoma, live in Missouri. It's prison, it's just like a way of life here in this area. It's like there's prisons everywhere, and pretty much everybody knows somebody who's been locked up,
Right, right.
and there's never any incentive to change. And if we could just find some way to incentivize people to change, but not give them things, because obviously it didn't work in Gypsy Rose's case, where she had access to a tablet and movies and music and all that stuff. She
Oh, yeah,
just
all she
used
did
it
was do her
to
time, that
become,
was it. That was she
yeah,
did a cushy ride. A
she used it
cushy ride.
she used it to become a
Infamous.
bigger crap human being, you know? I mean,
Right.
she accuses her mom of being a crap human being. Well, you know, she spent 8.5 years learning how to be an even bigger crap piece of person, and she learned it from people way more experienced than her mother.
Right. I agree. I agree. I agree.
So, so when we talk about prison reform, she hasn't done the cause any justice, or she hasn't helped in any way. She talks about going back to Chillicothe and being a producer and interviewing these women. Like, no, no, um, that's not going to help anybody.
I don't think the
And
women wanna talk to her.
no, no, the those women are very fickle. One day they'll all be like, "Oh, I hate Gypsy Rose," and then something will happen, and they'll talk to somebody else, and they'll be like, "Oh,
Fuck Gypsy
whatever. I hope
Rose,
she
yep,
helps us." Yeah, you know,
yep. I'm
it
familiar
is.
with inmates. I'm familiar with inmates. I'm familiar with kids inmates. I'm ju yeah, they d just like Gypsy. Gypsy changes on a dime.
Yeah,
She mirrors the situation.
yeah, and I mean, she learned a lot, and I mean, she's even quoted as saying, "I miss prison. It was easier." Yeah, it was easier because you didn't have any responsibility or any accountability, and now you have to live life like the rest of us, and you don't know how to deal with it.
But here's the thing, like, this is where I'm confused. Okay, so your prison reform looks like mandatory time that the inmates have to do as far as so the prison reform is more less, and I know that this is gonna sound ridiculous because prison reform is for the inmates, but this is more directed to what the inmates must do to be productive each day and to
Yeah.
move forward. That's what you're talking about on this part of prison reform, not so much the buildings, not so much who pays for what, but just that the inmates must have some sort of routine and have some sort of productivity. How could that be a bad thing? Because anytime you accomplish something, you do feel better.
Mhm.
So that's why is that so hard?
Yeah, the prison system, like each prison, is its own world. They
Yeah,
have their own
yes,
world
that's right.
inside of those walls. They have
That's
their own
right.
politics, their own, slang, everything. And so,
And nobody seems to understand that. I'm glad that you bring that up because it is. That is why it's fascinating. Is because, like, if you're into sociology and like seeing the way people live, the prisons is just it'll blow you away. And it's not specific to one prison. You know what I'm saying? Like each prison has its own set of politics. Each prison, you know what I'm saying? It's not that one you can't tell by one how they all roll. But anyway, so
no,
go ahead. No, it's really important that you talk because it's not you can't say, well, in the world, no, because that's its own world.
it really is its own world. And so I think some people, I guess they take it off of, TV shows or movies or whatever and what they feel like prison's like. But no, it's its own world. It has there the people who are on top and the people who are on bottom.
Definitely has a hierarchy. Yep,
Yeah.
definitely does.
And depending on
S One of the last cat well, okay, we're not talking politics. There is a caste system, most definitely.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just in the world in general, honestly, if we're being real
But
honest.
exactly, you're right. But you have a chance in the world to hide a little bit. In that world, it's this big, and there's no place to hide.
No, I agree. Sorry, my kids have been down here, being loud.
Sorry about that. My kids are good,
No,
but one
you're
of them
good.
was almost knocking something over, I thought.
Uh, they're adults, but they seem to be loud anyways. No. Um, yeah, so, like I've said, if it's a whole world, and if the people inside of that world took more ownership into that world and making it a better place for everybody to exist, um, it would go a long way into changing the mindset and the recidivism rate, in my opinion.
What do you think about, and this just came to my mind, don't ask me why. Um, seriously, you're gonna be like, Toddy, what the fuck? Just because everything is AI. What do you think about CO robots? Because I don't think that's too far out there. I don't think, honestly,
Honestly, it
somebody that
would.
can't. Let me just eh, go ahead. Go
So,
ahead.
so in some instances, I think it would be fine, you know, especially when you have to deal with certain inmates, because we'll just be honest, some of them are way more dangerous than others, you know. Um, so I think it would be helpful in those situations, but and it would cut down on a lot of the problems that we see. Like, for instance, there have been a lot of inmates who have been killed by COs, you know, for a lot of different things. And I've spoken to parents whose children have been murdered in prison, you know, I mean, literally murdered in prison by COs, you know, and so that breaks my heart too. It's like they're in there to get help and then they end up,
Well, they're not in there to get help.
well,
I mean, they're
supposedly.
no, see, that's they're not. That's not
Yeah.
what the prison is for. The prison is to house people that are too dangerous to be. I mean, that's just the black and white bit of it, Amber. I mean, they're
Mhm,
not. And the CO's job is certainly not to beat on a kid or any other inmate. I mean,
mhm,
so that you and I agree with that. But the purpose of a prison isn't to rehabilitate somebody. The purpose of a prison is to keep society safe from these people that they deem are too dangerous to come out into the world. It is up to the inmate and to people. This is what it is, and I want to do a video about this video that I saw. It is going to be up to the goodness of the people. Okay. I'm going to get emotional over this because where it should be a societal thing, because it affects the society. And it should fall on government and state because we pay so much in taxes that
mhm,
we do deserve to live in more of a safe world, in my opinion.
mhm,
Okay. And because there is a door that just opens up for the inmates to come out and they don't have to learn how to be better people, and they're actually coming in out into a world that is worse for them
yeah,
because they are so far behind on what they can do to make any kind of living, to be able to make it's doomed for failure. And because of that, it puts people that are in their way in danger.
mhm. No,
So
I agree, and see, that's maybe where we should start thinking about changing some things, is maybe we should house all the people that aren't going to get out of prison, all the people who have committed the worst of the worst crimes, who are, troublemakers in prison
Who's
and
gonna work
outside of
there?
prison.
Who's gonna work there, man?
No,
Who's
I know
gonna work
that,
there?
but
Because they don't have anything. Like, they don't have anything
to lose.
to lose, so
Mhm.
who's gonna work there?
Yeah, but then we throw drug addicts or people who didn't pay their child support on time, or, somebody who's whatever. There's all kinds of little things that get you into prison,
Yeah,
even
they
if it's
usually
just
don't.
being associated with a friend who did something wrong and you were there at the wrong time,
Yeah, but
you
they
know?
usually don't throw in, violent, um, criminals in with people that are there for, other like, white collar crimes or even, like,
Yeah, they
drug
usually house them in
users.
different
Yeah.
houses, different
Pods.
blocks.
Right.
Yeah. So, I get that, but when we're talking about prison reform, I'm talking about the people who can get out, who can be a productive member of society if they choose to. That's
Right.
that's where I'm talking, and then I'm also talking about, people who are unjustly incarcerated, things like that, or for longer periods of time than should be. It's, when I talk about prison reform, that's the kind of stuff I wanna talk about. It's the kind of
Okay.
stuff that helps the people who can get out or who will eventually get out one day, and they will need something to fall back on. They need something.
That's gonna come, unfortunately, this is what I was saying, that's gonna come from volunteers. You know that.
Exactly.
That's what
Exactly.
that's gonna come from, perhaps, somebody that loves to cook, example, and they reach out to the facility and say, "Listen, I'd like to teach maybe 6 to 12 women,
Mhm.
uh, to cook, or 6 to 12 inmates to cook." Excuse me, and that's totally a possibility, or at least it used to be, but still, well, let's say it's you. So you're in there, they still have to find the deputy to pay to sit there with you.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So now they've got a deputy that's, like, got this new job, and they're already bitching about being understaffed. It's so sad,
No, I
because I
know.
see where that benefits, because first of all, a good cook can make a lot of money, because that's something that it doesn't matter where you come from, you could shine with cooking, you know what I mean? Like, there's enough leeway where it's could be a one of a kind meal by
Mhm.
somebody, you know what I'm saying? So,
No, that's actually something that my cousin and I have talked, a lot about, is the fact that for any of this kinda stuff to happen, it's gotta be volunteer based.
yep,
Um, it's gotta be something that somebody's passionate about doing,
right,
something that, if you have a trill or a trill, if you have a skill or a trade or something that you are passionate about and you want other people to become passionate about, go go to a prison or a jail and share your passion. There's all kinds of volunteers. There's all kinds of volunteers that come in and out of prisons all the time. And all it takes is one person to be passionate and go forward and do something like that. And that's something that I have been trying to communicate with people in my own life, is that when they talk about this kind of stuff, you know, you have a chance to make a positive impact on somebody just by volunteering your time.
right,
And in the Bible, it talks about, going and visiting prisoners. And that was something that I never even took seriously until my cousin was incarcerated,
right.
and I've had other cousins that have been incarcerated, aunts, uncles, things like that, you know, but this one, hit harder because Shelly is a great human being, and, yeah, she's just doing so many great things, but, it wasn't until her being incarcerated that it woke me up to, "Oh, yeah, I need to be doing this," because my husband and I were missionaries technically, we were being paid as missionaries and my husband's job was to go out and help the widow, the elderly, and the severely disabled during, natural disasters like Hurricane Katrina,
Right.
or if they needed a porch built or whatever. But we never looked at the prisoner part
Well,
until now.
right. So, are you gonna start doing stuff, do you think? Or
So I've already tried. Okay, so Rockhurst University has a program in Chillicothe where they went in and they recorded some podcast episodes, and they were supposed to edit them and send them to me. And then I was supposed to put them out on YouTube, and then also guide the women on different things that they could talk about, or just pointers, teaching them how to podcast, basically like
okay,
what I do at MBR.
okay,
And but the unfortunately the professor who's in charge of that hasn't gotten back to me in a really long time.
wow,
And so I've emailed him several different times and he's never emailed me back. So I don't know what's happening with that.
right,
But one of the women who was a part of that project has now since gone on her own and is just doing it with one of her friends, just calling in every week, and doing one. And I'll have to get that information for that podcast for you. But that woman is a refugee from Africa who got in a fight and killed somebody, and she was like 17 or 18 at the time, and she's been in there for 23 years now.
wow, wow.
Yeah, and so but she's taken lots of classes and done lots of things and is very inspirational, and I mean the messages that I get from that woman is just so inspiring, and and she's going to be coming on the show sometime soon whenever I get a chance to be able to record with her. And yeah, there's just a lot of people in there that really have good hearts and really want to change the world and their community that they're in right now, that prison. And um and they're trying. And we don't know how to do it, or whatever. We're just
Well, that's the
going.
thing that's well, in my opinion, not that you're asking my opinion, but I think you said it clearly that it's that world. So
Mhm.
you have somebody in that world trying to change that world also by putting stuff out there for other, I mean, that station that you told me about that was for inmates,
Mhm.
the Vita,
Mhm.
that's making a difference, but then you're gonna get people that aren't gonna want help.
There's lots of them.
Yeah, because it's so much easier to sit there and be and just it's unfortunate when some people think that there's more that they get from prison than they do from the outside world. That's sad.
Well, Gypsy basically, I think, used her time more as like dorm life, college life,
Yep.
than anything
You made
else.
it social.
Yeah.
Totally made it social. And it was wrong. As much time as she had on the phone and to continue a con in there, right, while you're incarcerated is a joke. You're
And
so
then she
also
wants
not
to go
only are
back.
you still, I mean, you're supposed to keep us safe from them. That's not the way to do that,
Mhm.
you know? So uh
Yeah, now she wants to go back
change things up,
and
rewrite
and talk
history.
to women and get their stories so
For
she can.
$10,000 I heard, wasn't it 10K?
I don't know. I
Oh
don't pay
god.
attention to half of what she says, although she has been on a streak the last few days or week, I guess. So there's a lot to pick apart, and a lot that I don't really say a whole lot about what she says or does in the present, but holy cow, that woman. At first I was like, "Girl, you need to shut up and get offline." Now I'm like, "Please Keep telling us more.
Well, the thing is now that the FOIAs are coming out and her story, it just proves more lies.
Mhm.
And she doesn't know when to shut up.
No, she
She
doesn't.
doesn't know when to stop. She talks about, I mean, her latest thing, if you saw, was how she compared herself to Jesus.
Yeah, I saw
Okay.
that.
And Rogie, did you see what Rogie said? You know,
No.
so Rogie said, you know who Rogie is, right?
Mm.
Supposedly another mindless minion.
Yeah.
And so he says right online, and I mean, I had a great time with this. He says, well, we are made in God's image. We
Mm.
are. So who not better to compare yourself with? I was like, wait a minute, what? You should be humbled that we're made in God's image. That gives us something to aspire to compare yourself. To
Yeah.
compare yourself to Jesus Christ? Are you kidding me? You don't see the difference in comparing yourself and being created in his image, in God's image? It
Mhm.
was just unbelievable. It's almost like saying, "Yeah, you could sing, uh, not to Barbara Streisand's strength." Like, why would I even? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
everybody could sing, but how many people are Barbara Streisand? I mean, that guy was an idiot, and that's blasphemy.
Well, and it just shows that the people who are saying these things really haven't read the Bible or paid attention to,
Thou shalt
you
not
know.
kill. Honor thy
Yeah.
mother and father. Thou shalt not cheat. Thou
Yeah, and
steal.
thou
Here
shalt
we
not
go.
hype the murderer.
Yeah, there's just so much legitimacy in there, and I mean, it's just I and I mm-mm. What kind of prison reform would you have recommended for Gypsy Rose? Would you have mandatoried her into?
Well, okay, so, um, I would have not allowed her any, I would say, in a perfect world, if I could just say Gypsy's terms in prison, she can't be, chronically online, emailing and on the phone constantly, and she
I
needs to
think it's
have.
fair that nobody should be doing that. Fair, right? Nobody
Yeah.
should be. How is that bettering anybody?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, she spent the whole time on the phone or emailing people. That's all she did.
Do you know that honestly, when I heard that for the first time that they would spend 5 hours on the phone, I called them liars.
Yeah, a lot of people
Because
did.
yeah, because you weren't allowed to do that. Are you kidding me? That's a fucking hotel. Are you
So,
kidding? You have room service? I mean, usually you don't even have to go to the mess hall. The mess hall comes to you. You know what I'm saying? Come on.
yeah, so originally whenever before the tablets, they weren't able to do that. I think they had like 15-minute increments or
And that's
something
the
like
way
that.
it should have been, and they're all waiting on the phone. It should be a fucking inconvenience. But the
Yeah,
problem
now
is, yeah, and the reason, you know why, is because they don't wanna see if the inmates are busy, they are less likely
to get in trouble.
to but you know what they're busy doing? Come on. You don't know what it's kind of like when my dogs are too quiet, I gotta turn around and say, "What are they up to?"
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree. And, you know, before the tablets, they had parameters. Now they can just get on there and if they have their tablet in their hand, they can call somebody or email somebody. So, I know my husband used to laugh. He's like, I thought she was in prison. It's like she's in freaking my cousin when she would call me. He's like, I thought she was in prison, not in summer camp or whatever. And
Right.
it's true because I mean she would be on there sometimes when she first got there and she was trying to figure herself out. Sometimes we would spend 3-4 hours on the phone, but we would be talking about productive stuff, not just
Yeah, but
crap.
that's you and your cousin, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So, I agree with you as far as that's not prison reform, it's inmate reform is what I think you're talking about, right? Or no?
yeah,
Inmate
yeah.
reform.
I mean, and honestly, yeah, prison reform is more just, a broad term.
Right.
Eh, a lot of things fall under it. But like Marcellus Williams here in the back, he was executed here in Missouri, and he there was a lot of questions about whether he did it or not, and even the prosecuting attorney said that he should be given a stay of execution. So, uh, there's a lot of things that fall under prison reform, but that's just one of them.
Right. Right.
That oh, it's such a terrible
It's
thing.
a
I mean,
broad thing.
I even found out that there's a man here in Missouri, I think the only person ever imprisoned for a natural disaster for causing a natural disaster. There's a man in prison here in Missouri for causing the 93 flood in Missouri because supposedly he moved a sandbag, but he's in prison for life.
For moving a sandbag?
Mhm. Now there may be a whole lot more information on
I'm
that, but
sure, yeah.
you can go look up the information. And when I was at the Capitol in Jefferson City, Missouri for the lobby day for prison reform, I spoke to a lot of people, spoke to a lot of representatives and things like that, and found out a lot of things that happened, and it's wild. Prison reform, like I said, is a large umbrella, and there's a lot to talk about. So just saying I want prison reform.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you.
Mhm.
Um, well, like I said, that's a huge umbrella, prison reform.
Mhm.
But what I think you were talking about mostly was inmate reform through the
Yeah,
prison systems, obviously. They
correct.
have to get it through the prison system.
Mhm.
And, not that I'm trying to win this argument, but if they were to take both of our ideas and have it be self-sufficient, right? I think it's a win everywhere.
Yeah, as long as evil humans don't get involved too much.
Well, that's why I said if it was, self-sufficient as far as if the inmates got up and they all went to work and, let's say that some of them were building furniture and some of them were, you know, and they were able to afford their commissary items and learn responsibility and what it's like to actually, get something on their own. A lot
Be
of them
proud of
would find
yourself.
exactly, a lot of them would find self-worth
Mhm.
because some of the people in prison, I think you'll agree with this, some of the people in prison, unfortunately, have heard a lot of times their life that they're not gonna amount to anything,
Yeah.
you know? So, we're battling, you know, parent reform half
Yeah,
the
but I
time,
mean, look, I was told from an early age that my mom wished I would never have been born. I was neglected. My parents were drug addicts.
Right,
Look at
right.
me. I'm not in prison.
That's right, you wanna make a difference,
Yeah,
and you wanna make a difference, so I think
yeah.
that that's, obviously a great thing, and
Mm.
unfortunately, there are people that were born in the same exact scenario as you, and they've unfortunately become drug addicts.
Well, I went one way and my brother went another. My brother became a drug addict and unfortunately ended up dying from cancer at 30 years old.
Wow.
Um, so, and then I've got a bunch of stepsisters who went off and did that too, so it's, we can be raised in the same households and go through the same things and still turn out to be
Exactly, exactly,
who we
exactly.
are.
To find our incentive, but exactly, I think that it would make a world of difference to a lot of inmates to make their own money, buy their own thing for the
I
first
agree.
time, and it would every because here's the thing, what I found that I tried to sit down and figure out, what does everybody have in common? What is the one thing that all of us want? And what it comes down to, in my opinion, is that everybody wants to matter.
Yeah.
They want to matter to who they care for.
Mhm.
They might not wanna matter to everybody, but they want to matter to who they want to matter for.
Mhm.
And no matter who they are, you know what I'm saying? No matter who they are.
No, I agree.
So
I agree. Yeah, that's what makes the world go round, is feeling like you matter to people. I mean, that's what a lot of people don't commit crimes because they love people and don't want to be embarrassed
and
or
disappoint.
disappoint people, you know? I mean, that causes a lot of people to not do certain
They
things,
feel a responsibility towards somebody else and how it would affect them, absolutely.
and that was kinda how I was as a kid, even though my parents weren't the greatest, I still cared about my representation of them.
Right, right.
Like, if I just became like them, I don't know, I felt bad for making my parents look bad if I did anything wrong or anything like that, so that kept me from doing a lot of stuff.
I understand that. I get that. I totally understand that.
So, yeah.
Totally do.
No, it's true. If we have self-worth and honestly, like, it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized that I was actually smart and was worth something, because for so long I was told I wasn't, you
Right.
know? And yeah, so it when I decided to go to college on my own because I wanted to go, and then I was making straight A's, and doing so well, and I was just, like, so blown away. I was like, "I'm smart," I had no
Yeah,
idea I was,
yeah.
because I
No,
was
I get
told
it.
for so long that I was dumb.
Yep, no, I
So,
understand, and that does happen, and it
yeah.
doesn't just happen to us by our family per se. I remember I had a partner that I remember, and this was a ridiculously, in my opinion, old age to realize that I could take care of myself, you know? Even though before we got together, I took care of myself. So, but I was busy, and laundry wasn't something that I thought I liked to do. I like to do laundry very much now, but my mom used to do my laundry. I used to bring it over. I used to pay her. Just like wash, dry, and fold. I mean, I paid her. I paid her a lot, to do my laundry, to be honest with you. More than wash, dry, and fold. We both benefited. But when the relationship ended, and then I was within the relationship for a while. The relationship ended. I moved to upstate New York. I had a washer and dryer in the place that I rented, and my partner, we were no longer, together as partners, but we were friends. And she made a comment about me doing my laundry and shit. And I was like, I just want to tell you. And I told her, I said, don't ever, when you get involved with somebody else, don't ever tell them that they can't cook. Don't ever tell them that they can't do laundry. Don't ever tell them that, because I made a big fucking deal about making spaghetti for the first time, like, a little embarrassing at the age, and fucking doing my own laundry like it was this huge achievement. Like,
Yeah,
you took away, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
so there are people that do that damage throughout our life. We have to have self-worth and self-value, and I don't know if there's a course that teaches that. Um or how you get that, to be honest with you.
Well, I'll just say in my experience, I had to, realize that I am not who people say I am, and I am who God says I am. I have found my identity and contentment in Christ, and, you know, I I wish that happiness and peace for everybody else, but not everybody can get there, so, you know.
I understand, absolutely. Well,
Mhm,
I think I agree with that, and, I'm a Christian, as you know, as well,
mhm.
and I think that that's where we need to go when we're looking, but as we know, and this isn't a conversation that I think we need to have, as far as religion, I think religion in the right hands, for lack of a better term, is a beautiful thing.
Oh, yeah.
But for people that weaponize it and
Well,
use
that's why
it,
I'm not religious.
yeah,
I
it's
am a Christ
spiritual. You're
follower.
spiritual, right?
I'm a Christ follower.
There you go, and that's it. That's it. That's it. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Mhm.
Because religion will screw you up,
It
and
will.
Jesus won't.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I've been in ministry for 25 years now. When Alora was a baby, no one could handle her. I ended up going into the nursery, because she needed watched.
I got news for you. Nobody can. You still can't handle her.
No. So that's how I entered into ministry. Nobody could watch Alora. She
God
ended
help
up,
me with my kid. That's wonderful, though.
she ended up running out of the nursery and going into the sanctuary in the back and saying, "Mom, Dad."
Wow.
So, that's how I fell into ministry, but, yeah, it's just, uh, I don't remember where I was going with that, but she's crazy.
Just the willfulness of, I guess people and um
Oh, yeah. So I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot in ministry. I have seen the worst and I've seen the best. And you have to choose whether the worst is gonna make you or the best is gonna make you. And, I have chosen to go with the best,
right,
and, I have chosen to call out when I see that things are wrong or stand up for what's right, I'm not I'm not a follower.
right. No, I know that about you. That I know for sure about you. Absolutely.
I'm definitely not a follower. I will probably do something that will completely surprise you and be totally off script because it's what I felt like I needed to do.
Fair enough. That's all you have to do. Like I have done things what people have considered out of character, but when asked, it makes sense. So,
Yeah.
you got to give people a chance to at least offer where they're coming from, an explanation, a conversation. When you don't have the conversation, you've given up on the somebody, and it's only fair if you have tried the conversation, not because you don't want the conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, obviously, sometimes you just have to separate yourself from
Yeah, but
toxicity.
that would have been out of yeah, but wouldn't that be out of times of trying?
Yeah, yeah,
So
that is true.
it wouldn't just be the first time that you would make that decision. It would be out of, "This is really something I've tried and I can't," you know?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but, well, if there's anything I could help you with prison reform, I'd be happy to help with that. I don't know how or where to begin. I think it's great in kind of like, I guess, taking care of Chillicothe and trying to build up a network of maybe
Mhm.
volunteers. Try to assist them. I mean, not that you're asking advice, but if I could tell you if this is something you're serious about doing, I would try to set up some volunteers for certain programs. And, as you would know what the criteria is to get people inside, what they need as far as ID, as far as background checks and all that. And maybe get a team of 3 or 4 people that can talk about somebody go in and talk about spirituality, and somebody go in and talk about how to garden or how to cook, or I don't
Mhm.
is that helping you? I mean, I don't know. I think it's a great idea because while they're in there, they don't need to be rewarded by who does that? Who gets to live like that, especially in the United States of America, when
Mhm.
there are people that legitimately work 40 to 60 hours a week and simply cannot get their bills paid.
Mhm.
Like, that's my issue.
No,
Uh,
I get it, and my uncle used to say all the time, "I got 3 hots and a cot," you know? I mean, at the end of the day, he knew if he needed it, all he had to do was go do something wrong, and he had a place to live and food to eat.
I think
You
I
know
shared that with you that I knew an inmate.
Mhm.
He was a cook, and he spoke, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He was a really good cook, and he was treated really good in the kitchen because when you were the cook, you were the top dog,
Yep.
more or less, right?
Mhm.
The hierarchy, the caste system per se.
Yep.
And he was respected, and he didn't have to quite wake up as early as everybody else. He got the extra benefit. He was a big deal.
Mhm.
It was a big deal because when you're a cook in the jail, that's almost like gold, right?
Yeah.
So that's the guy who's going to give you extra portions and shit. So it was
Plus
winter,
also the person getting all the deliveries.
more or less, right? So he he got out. It was in winter. He got out. He went across the street through a brick in the window to come right back. Like he was the next day he was back. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And so it shouldn't be like that.
But
I mean,
unfortunately it is.
yeah, because I mean that's what exactly. So instead of paying for a hotel, he stayed in a place that he felt just as comfortable, if not more comfortable. And
Safer.
so exact and for free.
Yeah.
He was actually gonna get paid. He was coming back
No.
to get paid.
I grew up in that mentality. Like I said, my uncle used to say it all the time. I was always waiting to see him on America's Most Wanted.
Unbelievable. It is. It's harder to live in the real world than it is to live inside these prison systems. And I'm not saying that they need to be afraid for their life, but it needs to be more structured, more routine,
Mhm.
more things. They need to pay for their crime, and them sitting there watching movies and writing and just, yeah,
They should
that's not it.
they're paying a debt to society and they should actually be paying that debt instead of
I agree.
laying their behinds in their cot talking for 5 hours a night. Yeah.
I agree.
About
I
the most
agree.
raunchy crap ever.
Yeah, especially when it comes to Gypsy Rose, for sure, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Well, it was great talking to you.
Yeah, you as well.
Is there anything more you want to add or say or anything?
Um, just remember that, the people in prison are human beings who have made a choice, that got them there, and we are all one choice away from getting ourselves there. So when we, try to grandstand or pretend that we're better than them, we're fooling ourselves, and, that they are worthy of healing and of love too. Yes, there are a lot of terrible criminals that deserve, for the key to be locked away. And I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people that we can help and affect change for.
There you go. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, not a problem. Thank you. Guys, thank you so much. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode of The Argument with Toddy One Skip and my friend Amber from Into the Weeds podcast and Military Broadcast Radio. Guys, thank you so much. And don't forget, if you stand on anything, make sure it starts with a really good argument. Thanks, guys. Take care.